Hi folks, Nick Tockert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Well, we've got a lot on the menu tonight, but let's talk about our sponsors. The Historical Fencing Guild is brought to you by The Simple Sword, available on Amazon. The quickest, easiest way to learn to kill your friends safely and for profit. The Big Stompy Robots line. Because gaming shouldn't be expensive or convoluted. Both of these lines can be picked up at www.amazon.com/authors/Nicholas Tockert. Hint, that's me. We're also brought to you by my wonderful patrons. Over at Patreon, I have some amazing folks, and I'd like to shout out to them like I do every single week. Cindy Kep, Brian K. Morris, Stef Mari, and Steve Augusto. Those four folks right now are all that's keeping us afloat, and I really appreciate it because I can marshal the resources, I can buy the gear I need to keep this going to you. Happy Friday! We're also brought to you by John Miner of Swakhammer Metals and Steve Clausen, who are indirect supporters. Hi, Cindy Kep. I hope you're having a good Friday. I can't see Friday without constantly saying it. I'm okay, guys. I'm okay. We got a lot of news. And yes, by all means, if you haven't watched this, I talk about swords, knives, etc. I also talk about Western martial arts and adapting for those with special needs or are in a budget. Please feel free to comment, like, share, subscribe. You guys know that routine. I have news, and I'm very excited. So let's pull out my notes because everyone. Oh yes, I like the yes, John. I like the etc. too. You never know what's gonna fit that etc. But it's gonna be eccentric. Yes. Okay. So we're joined in the chats by Cindy Kep and John Miner. If you're watching this, please turn on the live chat option so that you can see what's being said to me so I don't sound schizophrenic. And again, if you have any questions or comments on anything, hit me up in the chat. We have a really great group of people who answer questions, address things, and get going. All right. I've had a busy YouTube week, not in creation, but because I managed to catch a few of my favorite creators, and I got to see some stuff. I got to chat on our old friend Sword Sages. Wonderful to hear from him. And I got some news from him I had to look up. And guys, there's just some really neat news. So, first off, you know that silly foil still has to take. Okay. A foil, Cindy Kep says, you know that silly foil still hasn't taken the lovely C curve. I'm using a box of shelf. If it has a C curve will develop naturally over time. You only need to retrain it if it's developed an S curve. And really, with a foil, you may want to retire it. I would not try to overtrain a C curve in a modern fencing foil blade because that could actually weaken it quite a bit. Have to be very careful with that. I love fencing foils for the safety of impact, but I'm dubious on them for their tendency to snap and suddenly become very unsafe. So it's one of those we really have to balance. Anyway, first off, there are two basic types of synthetic trainer that you get to encounter. Let me see if I have ones like that. I may not. Well, I have them, just not here. You have nylon. I should. Where are my trainers? I've been trying to clean up back here, so they're hard to find. And you have like a polyurethane, polyethylene, polypropylene, guys like this. Now, the nylon extruded trainers are the ones that traditionally have flex. They're great, but they can become floppy with excess use and are even more heat sensitive than the poly. And when I say HDPE, that's high-density polyethylene. Yes, because it's an E, not propylene, like this stuff. Anyway, I say that because we really need to talk. I did contact CRKT, and they are considering what I've asked for can we please have a neck knife trainer? Well, I didn't send the message, but I had something else burning the back of my head about a week ago, and it took me a while to get up. I drew up a little survival kit version of a neck knife because I didn't understand why I couldn't find one. Well, no sooner than I decided I'd like something like this, the Amazon Gremlins pop up in my knife searches, a neck knife trainer to the Historical Fencing Guild's public Facebook group because it's interesting. It's basically a knife not unlike this. It is not by CRKT. It is by a company called Frog & Co., but it's a fixed tanto blade and includes a compass, a signal mirror, a fire starter, and a knife sharpener in a fairly tight package at that $19.99 price point. So I am now at a point where I have three things I'd really like to order. So it may be a couple months for me to get the Patreon money in to be able to afford to order these things to review them. There is basically there's a double set of ring Bowie knives that if there are any left, I'm going to order because the ring would be retentive for my hands. There's that lovely thing, and I don't know if you know it, but the guys who make actually this isn't them. It's going through a repeat bending of our Wilcox structure. If it has a C curve structure, it is degraded past the original temperature and now mechanically annealed. Okay, John. Yeah, you get an S and it's host. So it's one of those you have to watch, and once it starts to get a C, you want to make sure you don't try to bend opposite the C and get an S. But anyway, the neat thing about those, I had another request. So I have three things that have been requested from people for me to review, which is what I want. That means people are telling me what they want to see. And that's Wolf Tactical made a Sting simulator. That's right. A Hobbit short sword Sting leaf bladed with a little swirl simulator. And I was told, Nick, you need to get your Hobbit expletive hands on that. So that is in the queue. I might set up a poll to see what you guys are interested in me trying to snag first as a priority. And, I'll work with the community with that because that's what I want to do. I want to serve the community. So that's coming up. Now, while I was talking to our good buddy Marco, Sword Sage, he revealed that LK Chen actually has a line of trainers. LK Chen is a moderate to high-end Chinese Jin sword company. I mean, they do other things, but their Jin are really way up there. And Sword Sage has a very good relationship with these people. And he's looked at some of the trainers. They are the extruded nylon, which means they have a certain measure of flex. They're also currently being sold for $100. Now, I don't know about the shipping because it is a Chinese firm, but I do think that is something that really needs to be looked into for those of you who are more in line with Eastern styles. Now, I am a huge proponent of something I don't see enough of, and that's where Eastern weapons-based martial artists and Western weapons-based martial artists develop some rules and spar to see what works against what. I cannot stress how dangerous it is as a martial artist to stagnate in your in your development and in what you expose yourself to. Okay, so that is... Oh, right. Nothing that is pressing for this. And those who know me well enough to contact me through my messenger, if for some reason you are watching YouTube and you are not, able to comment, I do accept comments related to what's going on, just to make it easier for you. That's why my phone is always set up just off camera. Now, this is exciting, guys. This is really exciting news, because the more companies we have making trainers, the better trainers we're going to get. That's how the market is supposed to work. Competition, I will always see as a good thing, even, friends, when I am rooting for one specific thing. To run a sports metaphor, it'd be like, if your team doesn't win, you don't stop the whole sport. So, I was looking at that and I'm fascinated. We had a good conversation, Sword Sage and I. Yeah, definitely don't want an S happening in that mouth. Not safe for humans or elves. Absolutely. While I am a big fan of keeping an eye on the Fae propaganda department, because elves are terrifying, and that's not a bad thing. And in fact, if anyone thinks that's derogatory, you haven't met the right elves, because most of them would get that smile that's sort of otherworldly and then chills you to your mortal bone. Yeah. No. We respect elves as the threat they can be, so we don't want unnecessary harm thrown their way. But also, it's good to watch this and not be sure where I stand on these. And I'm not going to correct you. I'd rather have you guess, because that makes for a far more entertaining broadcast today. Boop, boop, boop. Live. Okay. We are, let's see. Sorry. But now, $50 a piece is expensive. For nylon, it's not that bad. That's competing, basically a light grade version of what I would consider a white, being the extruded nylon trainers like you find in Purple Heart's Penty line, or most of Black Fencer / South Coast Swords lines. That's a good price. However, if you're willing to go for something more rigid, like, where did it go? Man, that's 2 for 2. No, there we go. Anyhow, one of the basic trainers, there is a short gin basic trainer for $35 through Purple Heart Armory, because apparently we've got some folks who are more interested in Tai Chi, certain elements of Wing Chun that cross over into the weapon styles. And being me, I'm all about helping you find the stuff that really matters through them. Now, speaking of our good friends at Purple Heart, I was looking through, they have a couple of swords I wanted to comment on. You have to dig through their site. I love them, but they don't really advertise their sales nearly enough. But one thing they are doing is they're just releasing, well, I don't even know if it's priced yet, a Skindu, which is a very small little knife, traditionally worn by Celtic men as a sort of tool / minor dagger. Not as long as a dirk, a little guy. Oddly enough, something that serves a function much like my neck knife. Well, if you could guess that it took me about 30 seconds of looking at that nice little knife, and I do have a love for the little black Celtic knives. For many years, my chosen neck knife was a Cricket minimalist in black with the spear point, in part because of the symbolism, and it had other applications. Now my wife gave me the glow-in-the-dark gears, which has since, of course, lost almost all its gear. But God, I got junk under my nails. You can't tell I was working on anything today, can you? Yeah. But they, because they have that, and they're starting to make sayas for some of the katana trainers. There's a Boken at least that has one. I'm going to start bugging them about making sheaths. Now, it's been a while since we've had a practical practice, but one of my great annoyances in HEMA in Western martial arts, and this will skedaddle into where other places I've roamed internet wise this week, is they're not trained from the draw, and that drives me bonkers. Why, say you? All right, I know that there's a certain practicality in using the longest sword you can feasibly acquire. It gives you the most reach. That's a massive advantage, especially in fencing. However, I would love to see some of the people I know who run around with 42 and 45s, not you, John, you're not human, attempt to draw some of these weapons at speed at the start of an engagement. It rapidly changes how you feel, especially. Yeah, John, I think I have about three of them hammered down. John says Katana 10 cut training. And you know what? Wow, it has been way, way too long since I did anything with a katana. And you know what? Maybe I need to put that on my wish list. A nice polypropylene katana and saya. Because if I can't do it from the draw, I don't want to drill it where a katana's involved. And I'm sure John can understand. Years ago, I was trying to get into an Aido academy, and my finances wouldn't let me. Nick, that's Eastern. Yes, I like Eastern martial arts and Western martial arts. I stick them in a blender, lay out a buffet, and let you pick what works. Yes, John, again, you are 6 foot lots with nearly a 7 foot wingspan because you have unnaturally long arms. That's using a sword that's tailored to you. Yes, absolutely. A pal of mine Cindy says, had a 45-inch Schlager. God, do I love a good Schlager. He had to change the way he saluted at the beginning of the match because any kind of downward swipe stuck the point in the dirt. And that's where you start running into the real hazard of what I consider Spanish length rapiers. The extremely long wet rapiers, when you start getting to a 40, 40 plus, I think 38 is about the high comfort line for an average height individual, especially a woman. Because the height of women in America is 5'4" on average. And I think a man's only 5'10", if I remember right. It's been a while since I've checked the numbers, but my point being, that limits how much you can do. That means your low line parry, so when you have to block down, can get tangled, can get stuck, or stepped upon. I have known some people who would bait a low parry to step on your blade and do bad things to you. John is one of them. It is not nice, it is not chivalrous, it is really hard on fencing equipment. But it is a valid thing I have seen applied. Now, why am I harping on this line again? Aside from it's making good conversations. Well, I was watching my good, I don't want to say good friend because I don't know him, but Shad. Oh, Shad Brooks over at Shadversity, very popular YouTuber, who does the fantasy rearmed or medieval fantasy rearmed. And he's talking about the best gear for an adventurer. And this man, who I suspect is not that much taller than me, proceeded to say the best gear for an adventurer is a long sword, so like a bastard sword. Yeah. A bastard sword, a boar spear, and a longbow with the quiver. And he proceeded to show how you could strap all this on outside. And he did it outside because he couldn't safely demonstrate it inside, let alone navigate doorways, hallways, anything such. But I'm an adventurer and I have to. He made several points. But they were thought out, even if I disagree with it, which I do. But the logic being that the sword was better than the spear because the sword risked offending more people in a wide horizontal slice against hordes of like goblins and such, and multiple opponents. And a spear only threatens one person. Now, I would really, really like to see what happens when multiple people go up against a spearman. Especially understand. Okay, what do I mean by that? Yes, literally, you wear it each side. Is scenario. Oh, I do. Okay. I'm going to want bear. I'm going to want. And is that loose? It is a little loose. I may have real signal problems tonight, but I'm going to want a boar spear. Yeah, this I can still hit valued, especially a boar spear. So yes, I can even do sideways strikes. I can short shank. The idea of using using a spear. I hope this isn't too bad. While short shanked, i.e. staff style, being able to get close in strikes was totally not covered. So what he set himself up is he's got this, he's got his thing. He looked like the classic Pathfinder over encumbered image of somebody with so many weapons they trip on them and no room for anything. I have to ask a question, and I'm going to talk about the practicality of it. It brings back that neck knife that I'm really like. If I were shopping for me, that thing would be on order already. But I shop to serve the guild, so we'll see. Spear. Spear. Anyhow, if I were thinking in terms of an adventure, it's real easy. Think of hiking, okay? Think of camping from a backpack. What do you need to camp? You need some kind of shelter. It can be quite minimalist. You need something to make fire, something to store food, so that even if it's something to prepare food, that means a pot of some sort. Even if you're very minimalist and going full rangery, you need a few specialized tools. And rope! The business of an adventurer is to go on an adventure. And true, melee combat is a major part of that, as is ranged combat. However, there is no fast travel. Yep. John, jumping ahead to one of my favorite portions of this rant. You can't swing a broadsword when you're in the forest. It's really hard to fight in uneven, uncomfortable terrain. And when you're carrying things, especially things of a medieval or historic, weight is a massive issue. So you don't want monotaskers, and you don't want things that are going to tangle up. Is a bow a good idea? Absolutely. I have no problem with a bow. But do you need a 6-foot-long war bow? Not necessarily. You can do a lot of damage with a moderate recurve, or even just a moderate bow. So that shortens it from a 6 to 7 foot stick to, a 4-foot stick that, when unstrung, that's very light, you can keep in your pack. It also shortens the arrows, respectively. This is just like understanding concealed carry versus open carry versus tactical carry when you're talking about firearms. Yeah, a composite horsebow. Yeah, if you want 100 pounds of draw, but I would wager, given that you're likely to have multiple opponents, you probably want something more than a birding bow, but not a whole lot more. As you're an adventurer, you have to either you have to have enough arrows for your whole thing, be able to make arrows in the field, and or glean the arrows you find. So it would make a lot of sense, at least to me, to have a sling. A sling has no mention in any of his videos, which is ridiculous. It's a very simple prospect of a piece of leather, some string, and whatever rocks you can find. I personally have had many hours fun with slings, with their modern counterparts of slingshot, doing all sorts of things. In fact, I've known people who, during the Great Depression, actually used slingshots to secure squirrels and other small game to eat with. I mean, this is real serious stuff. Cindy Kemp says bolos. Bolos are fascinating tools. They're from, yes, wrist rocket. Now you're getting there. They're great for entangling and catching, actually, men. You can use them somewhat with certain types of animals, but I don't think it's a real efficient way. They tend to get heavy and they tend to be a bit cumbersome. It's much simpler to train with a sling, get your spin on, and let that bad boy go. Plus, again, minimalist. If you guys want, all right, I'm going to put this up, and I'll see if I can actually make this a formal poll. Okay? And I'll try to throw it in the community tab if I can get it to work. I want to build up the community tab here because, frankly, Facebook is giving me some real profound issues because they confuse my proximity to certain groups with being aligned with them. And this isn't actually a gun, although I do occasionally discuss firearms-based topics. And I do not condone violence. I teach Western martial arts. This is different, and it's research. This is the same idea as when you're an author, or you look up things that, without understanding that you're an author, it comes up spooky. But absolutely, one second. And for the folks who know, it's a Galacticino kind of night, and I'm starting this far into the bottle, so you know it's been an intense bit of night where caffeine was needed. But, so if you guys want, I will do a whole video detailing, as close as I can cabbage on a budget, a modern adventurer's basic kit. Is that something you guys would like to see? If it is, hit me up in the comments. Hit me up, on the Facebook group, the Historical Fencing Guild public group. As long as you speak English and I don't see anything that looks like hate speech when I check out your bio, I approve people to join in, but I do have to approve them because we had some weirdness. Sure, you betcha. Okay. So that actually goes really well into a project I'm planning to do anyway. For the literary side of things, I'm writing a guide for the novice adventurer of, I don't care what system you're in, here's a set of things to think about bringing. And I'm not necessarily talking a bug out kit, because this is going to be slightly more medieval fantasy oriented, but it would actually, if it would actually double quite well as a bug out kit. And the way we're talking, guys, I may just have to order that neck knife because, boy, would that be a good piece for this video. Because that's precisely the kind of thing I want to leave in a bug out kit. But there are items that it's so useful to have that if you're not trained to think that way, you don't know to pack. Cordage is king, in my opinion, in survival. I don't go anywhere without a knife. And it's not because I'm looking to go all Toneberry on somebody. It's that I need to cut things. I need to clean things. I need to open things. I need to make things. And this, from the studies I saw for a long time, having a knife on you doubles your survival rate in any wilderness situation. If you're in a car and you wreck, or you're hiking and you get lost, having a knife, base across the boards, doubles. Soft wire spool is a great thing too, but we're going to balance out what's great versus weight versus what we're trying to accomplish. There'll be a few things that are a little bit more D&D themed in this kit because people find such things interesting. Like I said, if that's a video you guys want, I will put it together. But when we were talking about the weapons, and like I said, so we've established why a long bow and a short bow will get through the woods easier. Now, I am always going to be a proponent for a nice 5.5 foot, 6 foot boar spear. Now, Nick, this is a heavy thing to lug. No, it is not, because you don't lug it. This part goes into the ground, and you use it as a walking stick. Why do you use it as a walking stick if you do not have a walking stick? Because if something goes, oh, boogie boogie, and jumps out of the woods at you, you have spear. I don't have to draw this weapon if I am using it to make my walking easier. It is staff spear. It is equipped. It was in my hands. And I can keep one hand open to do stuff with and gesticulate, hold a book, whatever. So what this makes sense. I also like, no, let's talk about, well, we'll talk a bit about it. You guys don't mind if I repeat some portions when I'm getting into the video itself. Now, let's talk. What else do you carry? Well, we know you're in the woods. This means you need to make fires. Now, the nice thing about an axe like this, now, honestly, for adventuring purposes, I am going to say I would not want the spike. Yes, it's weaponly offensive, but I would far rather have a slightly heavier blade for adventuring with a pronounced flat. Because as a woodsman, you often use the backside of your hatchet like a hammer, almost as much as you use the blade side like a hatchet. When you can drive wooden, drive wooden wedges. Yeah, City Cap, my glasses are a magnifying lens. I've actually started leaf fires with it. One, not on purpose. Wonderful. Wonderful. That's thinking. I saw a recent video where a guy went off in the woods and he picked one item to bring with him. One of those one item overnight survival kind of things. He brought a Ziploc bag. About a quart-sized Ziploc bag. And he filled it with water from a stream, shaped it, angled the sunlight onto some stuff, and started a fire. It was awesome. Now, let's talk weaponry. So, wait a second. We'll get back to the axe. And the axe is one of the first things he discredited entirely, which I find stupid. Because if I need to cut open wood, well, this this is going to be a good friend right here. And it's going to hang nice on my belt. The nature of an axe makes it very fast and easy to deploy. Lots of hanging options, especially a bearded axe. Quality mid-deal weapon. Can it be thrown? Yes. Do I ever suggest throwing an axe in a survival situation? No. I want to stop and go, do you see that wear right there? The wear pattern on this particular trainer of the orange is literally from me talking to you guys and scratching my back. See? Useful. Well, Nick, what about fighting? Well, we got some options. One, a camp knife. Now, I'm going to stick to trainers for safety and YouTubing, but a solid medium to long length knife. Now, this is a very ornate model, but because of my hands, I really have come to love this grip. And I've just decided that if I ever buy a truly expensive knife, it will be one of these. But something that you can baton to split if you don't have an axe. You can defend yourself. This is a valid tool, filleting, etc. This is good stuff. A real life version would be this. This is a handy little knife. It has a saw. You can saw through stuff surprisingly well. You'll note that the paint is chipped. That means I've used it. Something like this would be good to go. It conflicts a little bit. The round of the hilt conflicts with my braces right now. That's okay. But so we're thinking a knife, a good axe. Well, I want a sword. Fine. Get yourself something that will work like a machete. Now, this obviously is based on a cutlass. Oh yeah, John, I agree, and about an 8-inch or up is a stout knife. I just don't happen to have a knife in that range in reach. Plus, again, because of the small size of how I operate, believe it or not, all my gear is tailored to my size and my scale. So a lot of my gear is actually just about 7/8 or 3/4 what some other people recommend, because that's what fits my hands. But this is not. This is a cutlass that was purchased for me by Steve Clausen, and this is exactly the kind of sword I would want to take adventuring. In that it has a stout guard, it has a good length. But yeah, you want the practical beat upable version, okay? Because this is going to hack through limbs and bad guys. If I have to cut through tall grass, whatever, I still can. If I have to hack my way through a jungle, I still can. This is a handy, basically you want a machete with a D guard. Now, I am fanatical about wanting these guards, and it has very little to do with the combat practicality, although it's there. It has to do with the fact that if you've ever had to cut through brush, through thorns, through vines, especially nasty vines, you will tear, gloved or not, you will tear your hands to heck. So a D guard is a practical, valuable, and look, if I hold it tight with no wriggle, I can draw this very, very obliquely. I can keep this tight. I can draw this. I laying on my belly, I could draw this up and get it into play. That makes it valuable. This is another one of the case where at least partial flat of the blade can be useful, because that's going to give you leverage to do things up close that maybe you can't do at full extension. Now, yes, you lose some of the elegance of the wrap shots, and that's a trade-off, and we can go into that too. That's a good video subject. But the point is, it's viable and it's carryable. Now, he had talked briefly about shields and basically the whole, what if they're dragons? I'll talk about that. This is the little buckler. Now, there's a soldier's one that is about that much wider. I don't own it yet. Watching the price. Something like that. Yes, okay. A sawback. John says a sawback on the blade is very useful. Absolutely. Look at the German hunting swords. They were about this long, but had a sawback. Now, why did they have a sawback and a D-guard? Well, you see, you could grab it by the D-guard and saw things. Brilliant, useful, practical weapon, practical tool. Now, a lot of people are telling me, Nick, why are you talking about carrying a large knife like this? Okay. I get it both ways. I either get if you have a knife like this, why do you have a neck knife? Or if you have a neck knife, why do you need a knife like this? So let's talk a bit. And again, because you have to understand that an adventurer is the ultimate survivalist. Okay, and I don't mean like dressing up in olive drab and playing soldier in the woods. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about I gotta live on my own. This is someone who's going to literally survive. One sec. A knife like this is going to be sharp, but it's not going to be razor sharp. This is the knife that's going to be used to make things, to cut things that are blunt. This is a rough work kind of knife. This is a fine work kind of knife. This is the kind of knife you sharpen once, you stroke always. This is a sharp little a ski-doo. This is a tool that is well prized because when you want to do fine work, that's what this guy is for. It's also cleaner so that when you're cutting food you're eating, you're not using something you may have cut a vine of unknown quantity in half with. It's a very personal item. Oh, I got a message. I'm sorry. We will check. And so, now, yeah, sawback on the knife, 8-inch shorter. Even a rescue diver has at least 3 knives, 2 reachable by both hands and 1 large. Absolutely. I have one of my dive knives. It's buried. I love a good dive knife. And dive knives are, if you really want to spend some money and have the kind of knife that should work all the time, looking into a dive knife on either a wrist or an ankle. I actually was going to demonstrate a new knife today, and I left it out in the living room. Stef Mari gave me that little knife, and I've taken to wearing it. Well, here, let me pick a different knife length to demonstrate. I usually have a few minor knives. All right, now, I would not use either of these in dive knife applications, not because the water is the problem, but because I don't trust carbon fiber yet. They haven't got them practical. But if I were to take, and I'm not going to untie the backup neck sheath, but if I were to run it through a strap that attaches it, say, right here, what you have is a knife that angles up. And we'll just do this to make life easy. Hey, watch the miner. Ha ha ha, John. But now I can angle and I have a knife deployed for emergency cutting relatively quickly. I have taken to wearing the knife Steph gave me just to see if I like that as a system. And it is part of something I was designing that, again, as my schedule reopens and as I'm feeling better, if I'm feeling better, more things like that are going to get made and discussed. But the practicality is you can't beat a good accessible knife unless you have 2. And I say 2 because redundancy. That's the other thing in survival. You have to balance weight with redundancy. There are certain things you always want to be redundant in. For example, if you're an adventurer, you're probably going into dungeons, you're going into caves, you're going into dark forests, forests where the forces of darkness tend to chill out. Do you think you want to go in there with only one light source? No. You want to have the equivalent of a lantern, a flashlight, and at least a backup. And that has all that's weight, all that has is things that need to be discussed. And I know, I love, guys. What I love is something about the image of a knight in shining armor, clutching a great two-handed sword, a one-man line against the coming darkness. I love that stuff. But I've been that stuff. It's not my style. And it's not anybody's style who doesn't have a support system. Knights can do that stuff because there are squires and pages and men-at-arms lugging their stuff and setting up camp and starting the fire so that they can go out and fight. You really need to look at the numbers of tip of the spear as a concept in modern combat, and you'll find, was it for every modern combatant, there's something like 100 support staff? So for every guy who's out there doing the job, there's this bulk of people who are making sure he's fed, making sure he's armed, making sure his truck is running, making sure the logistics are being followed, patching up his wounds. All this to build, to support somebody to be that kind of entity. And that is, it's so important. And that's where, if you're a writer, guys, and this especially, write heroic characters, but don't write heroes. What I mean is, like, they may never get named. But aside from the Howling Commandos who followed him, somebody had to drive the Jeep or the truck or fly the bird that transported Captain America to the front. It's like, Nick, you're talking fantasy and you go to Captain America. Shield, standing against darkness, specialized equipment. Cap is great. You can't. If you're writing a world, you want it to feel depth and have interest. You have to realize there's interrelations and there's support systems, and they have to matter. So, from that perspective, if you're doing an adventure who's operating without a guild to, suggest gear, build gear, maintain gear, give training, find jobs, the sort of network, if you don't have that, it's hard. Humans have survived because we build communities. And anybody who thinks they can just, I will take up my sword and change everything and do it myself, is going to get, their throat slit by a goblin in the dark. And that is really, really grim sounding. I admit it freely. But it's also the practical side of what we're doing. And we need to keep that in mind. One of the things that used to drive people nuts, they would ask me to fight in tournament the way I fight in Melee. And there were a couple factors. One, I don't fight in a tournament like I fight in Melee because I don't feel the stakes. Like, whenever it was one-on-one and we're screwing around, it was always for fun. As soon as there are more people than me, there's switches. I also fought using the terrain and movement. In a small list field, your movement options are very limited. it's like, okay, take a chess master. Love chess. Actually, I hate chess, to be honest, but I love board games, and chess is something that everybody can think of. They know that board. They're limited response. You take the same group of things and you take, say, a 3x3, so it's a 36x36 board, and you tell them, okay, defend it. What? Play chess, but on a 36x36 board. Now the strategies and angles are totally different in large parts. There's much more, it's dynamic, and there's wiggle room and strange. And then your units, the slow units, are suddenly so much slower. And that's how I operate. I also refuse, if learning a method that would let me win in a tourney but not work in a melee doesn't work, I don't bother with it. I've never bothered, and I will continue not to bother with it. Because trick shots are great in show-off bouts, but they'll get you killed on the field. If you're not paying attention, if you're not doing the gig that you're there to do, you'll get messed up. Now, that's where the survival layer overlaps in an adventurer. And if you're a swordsman, yay. And I mean, when I say swordsman, let me clarify. That is a gender-neutral term. I say swordsman the same way I say fireman. Exactly. John says tourney is not even close to melee. In melee, it's a target-rich environment instead of just watching single opponent moves. Absolutely. That's one thing I love about the concept of a melee. I'm not engaging him right now because I have no reason to. If it's one-on-one, then I have to think and I have to do things a lot more. I have to adapt to the situation, not make the situation adapt to me as much as I can. And that's not what makes this little fat man happy. You know, R.A. Salvatore wrote one of the greatest sword fighting characters in the history of fantasy. A character whose style and dedication has shaped me for as long as I've been alive. That's right. Artemis in Theory, Drizzt can... Now, I'm not going to say that about Drizzt. Drizzt is a great character, but he's a little too emo for being overpowered, and I'm just done. Old school Artemis in Theory. This is a guy who could outdrow the drow. Why? Because he was always spinning. This was always working. And one of the neat things he said is, I can defeat any opponent in a time and battlefield of my choosing. And, you know, some of it gets far-fetched. Well, yeah, if they're standing on lava and you're not, you win. And that's far-fetched unless you can arrange a lava flow. Oh. And yeah, is that noble? Is that fair? No. Per se. Now, part of it is, you know, a lot of people, Nick, you kind of tend to be more paladin than stuff. Longtime friends know me. I got my rules and I go by them. But they're strange. If I say I'm coming for you, that's fair. Whatever means I use. I have a job to clear the way for my fellow defenders to kill. I don't kill the opponent in front of me, but those at angles. Okay. What John's talking about is SCA line combat. And that's one thing that's very different. A lot of the weapons you hear are not made to stand alone. They are part of a functioning unit. A spear is great. I love a good spear. A spear with a shieldman in front of me, and I can snipe over or under or around. This makes life cake and ice cream because then I have options. If I have to be entangled in a group, I want to be rear because I can do the front, but why? I know people who are better at it than I am. Now, And yeah, it's not here. It's, oh, I'm going to make an opening. You're shooting here, and it becomes a night. Your side, optimally, your side is controlled. Their side is a scrum, and the bodies start to hit the ground. But that doesn't fit the mythos. That doesn't fit the illusion of, the Conan the Barbarian, the one man. Yes, John. Madness shooting pool from behind Jesse and your shields. Yes, exactly. But one sec. That's war. That is line combat. That is not an adventurer's place. An adventurer is a harrier by their nature. They are a scout. They are going places others wouldn't, to do things that others might not. So if they're going into, say, a combat with a superior opponent, they should be thinking in ways to, build their advantages and provide their opponent disadvantages. This is tactics. And wearing and clanking, here I am, trying to go through swamp and bog and fen and beach and plain and whatever. It's not versatile. It becomes a pain in the butt. Seriously, you want to talk complaints? Look at infantrymen. Okay, look at what infantrymen have to carry, the huge amount of weight. What do they want to do? They want to cut weight wherever they can and still keep what gear they can. That is a balance. Walking around with an excessive arsenal is great if you have a fight right now, right here. That hurts so bad. Okay, we'll just not do that again. But it's not very good if you have to hike 20 miles through the woods, pausing to fight your way through whatever bog, bloke, beast, goblin infested nightmares between you and the entrance to wherever the boss is that you're trying to deal with. Yes, hundreds of pounds. That's why, this is my rifle. They're carrying a rifle and a sidearm and a knife. Guy's not going into battle with, like, I got a shotgun on my back and 2 ARs. Let's go. That gets heavy. The ammunition for all that gets heavy. Food and water and shelter and med kits and tourniquets get heavy. So you have to keep that all in mind. Yeah, fire gear was 140 pounds. So, and you know what? There is a video, okay? It's fairly recent, about 5-6 days now, that Shad put up, called, what is it? It's from the Fantasy Rearm series, what weapons an adventurer should carry. Go watch it by all means. And be nice, like it, share it, comment, because that's good for him. Just like you should like, share, and comment my stuff. But then when you comment, discuss it. Because he's going out and he's very popular. So he tells a lot of people, and a lot of people take it as gospel. And it really doesn't work that way. So because my goal, I will never argue, it's fantasy. Hey, maybe that's made out of, elven steel that weighs next to nothing and phases in your sheath so that it goes through. Well, yeah, dive gear's 95 pounds out of water. That sounds about right. If I can get myself down to a certain weight, John, I want to try and if I can actually mechanically breathe, get dive certified. That's sort of on my bucket list. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it, but it's there. All right, I'm at the hour break. I need to take a moment to thank my sponsors. And believe it or not, John Miner over at Swakhammer Metals is one of them. He occasionally sends me really, really cool things. As soon as he has a website that we can plug numerically, I will plug it numerically. We also are brought to you by my patrons. That's Steve Augusto, Brian K. Morris, Cindy Kep, and Stef Mari. You guys, a buck, guys, literally $1 to $5 a month, just shapes my world and lets me afford to buy the trainers, because I frankly couldn't buy the trainers to review them. I don't have the kind of relationship where a lot of the guys send me trainers to review, so I either get them from friends, borrow them, or I have to pay out of pocket to afford the different gear, both to train people, which I don't charge for, or to test, just to tell you, this is a great knife trainer. I love this trainer, or I dislike that trainer, or this doesn't work, and it's important, okay? So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for making that possible. I also want to thank Steve Clausen. Steve Clausen is in the middle of a business deal I can't talk about that doesn't directly come. Ow! That doesn't directly influence me, but lost stress. And I know he can do it, and I know he'll do great because he's just that good. John said, where was that Hobbit knife trainer from? I found it on Amazon. It was like 20 or $30, somewhere in that range. I will, if I haven't shared it on his Historical Fencing Guild public channel immediately after this video, I will share it there, because I know you're on that list of those people who are asking. I am waiting for the weather to get a little nicer so that I can set up somewhere with more space to do reviews. I have a quantity of older trainers I've been meaning to do full individual reviews on, and I want to crank them out. So, actually, I can multitask, maybe. But, so I want to do that. It's all, guys, this is also made possible. This is my passion project. I am a writer, The Simple Sword, which is available through Amazon. It has this nifty kind of swirly paisley cover. I wrote this book to make it easy for you guys to learn how to sword fight, and so that if I got hit by a bus, the ability to get started that I give would be available. Look it up. I keep it as cheap as Amazon will let me keep it. I totally encourage you to save your money and get the Kindle one. I think it's like $5 on Kindle. I'm not making a lot of money, but part of it is, while I need the money, it's not about that. Okay? I'm going to. Someone is laughing right now at the idea of me multitasking, because Lord knows I'm not good at it. I'm a bit of a monotasker. I do one thing, I do it extraordinarily well, I move on to the next thing. Yes, that was a MASH reference. We'll see. We gotta let that load up because we have some severe internet problems, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to hop off. I don't want this to goof up oh, that's not the right thing. It opened up my Kindle. Yes. Hey, look, a squirrel. Absolutely. I suffer from from a disease called ADOS, attention deficit shiny. And I am distracted regularly by squirrels and not rats. I don't have rats out here. I do have cats, though. Very, very nice neighbor cat. But, there we are. Let me give it just a second to pop up. And it really is glitching. Okay, anyway, we'll see if that brings up the trainer. It's going to be a pain. Anyway, why did that not go directly? Did they take it down? While we're looking at that, I'll see if I can get that to come up. I don't know why it's being difficult, but with the Claymore. Ooh, shiny. Yes, well, that's what I'm about. Okay. So thank you, guys. Let's talk shop for a second. I want to know, are you guys actually drilling? I give you homework. I say, get something. Get a sword simulating object. Put it in your hand and drill. I'm not asking you to drill a lot. I'm not the thing. My hands don't work. I have braces and I'm still clutching onto something to try. That means you guys can at least try. And I will never scold you for failing if you honestly try. So please start drilling. You don't know it, but before we're mentally prepared, the virus is going to be dealt with enough by shots and stuff that we can start to come together. And I think now is a wonderful time for us to take this pause, evaluate what we want to learn. Yes. Cindy Cap says, yes, I do drill right-handed. Left-handed, I'm having trouble with my other joints, relieving the tension in my wrist created by extra shenanigans. Hey, I fully understand that. And it all boils down to doing what you can. Okay. There is this external force that always tells us we're not doing enough. And a lot of times it's this this thing that eats the back of your head and says, you can't do enough, so why do anything at all? We've all had that experience. Oh, geez, I see what happened here. It's why is it not showing up? Okay, I will bring that up later. But there's that belief, guys, that if you're not doing enough, you're not doing anything, and that is balderdash. There have been times where I've been sitting in a chair because my legs won't work. I've got my right arm dangling because the nerves have turned off. And I've got, what was I using? I was using a little dowel rod, which isn't in here. It's over by where I sit for just such an occasion. But I've got something like this in my left hand. Lightest sword I could find, and I'm just drilling. I might not be getting a lot out of it, but why am I drilling? I'm drilling because that's all I can do right now. And even if I can only do 5, or 2, or just one well-intended extension at this moment, then you do that, okay? I am at a point personally where, because of my conditions and what I've had to deal with lately, I am building back up from just about the absolute bottom. This is not suspenders. This is part of a back brace that's helping me keep aligned so that I can sit comfortably for the amount of time these videos take. I have every waking minute I switch out. Usually these are actually my nicer sleeping braces because I was having a very bad day. I switch out braces and I wear them pretty much constantly. And I am adapting. Why? Because I'm not going to give up. But you can't. Something can be inspirational or it can be a gatekeeper. Okay? When you see the Olympics, right? You watch Usain Bolt just like jet. Pew! He's faster than any living being alive. You have 2 choices. You could either go, well, He's faster than me. Why bother? And I know so many people in so many fields who are why bothering. I'll never be Stephen King. I'll never I may never support myself. So you just give up? What? No. I use sword fighting, I use fencing, I use it as a metaphor, okay? Because yes, I want you to be better fighters. I want to be a better fighter. And I want to be able to get up out of the chair. And believe it or not, some days getting up out of the chair, not so much a thing. But every day I try, I'm winning my only opponent. The only opponent each of us has is right there in the mirror. And it's this weird version of you that's still sitting on the couch. It's the version of you that, well, I'd write a book, but I don't want to fail. I'd go for a walk, but I'm just gonna sit here. Guys, change only comes when you get tired of the smell of your own BS. And that's when you start to change. And you want to know the truth. Change is growth, and growth in itself is a destructive process. Because to be what you want to be, you have to stop being what you are. Do you understand that? Does that make sense? I am in a single state. I'm either the guy who can sword fight, or I'm the guy who can't. Now, it gets more complex when you have a disability or you have a limitation. Maybe in that moment, and that, you know what? I have to learn to accept that there are moments I am the guy in the chair because that is all I physically can be. I've been honest with my assessment. I have weighed and measured, and that's all I can be. And it's the most soul-destroying thing to admit. It feels like utter, just ash in my mouth to even talk about that sensation. To sit there and go, I can't do that. Schrodinger's fencer, absolutely. But you know what? If I wait a few minutes and I let myself calm down, maybe I hydrate. Coffee's not the best beverage, but I really needed the moral support for today. I give myself 15 minutes, half hour, an hour, however long. As soon as I realize, hey, I can get up. Get up and you do it. Now, I actually was talking to my wife today. I wanted to clean on the house and get ready for our family game night. We're going to have a whole weekend of gaming starting tomorrow. And maybe play test the hybrid stuff. But I got up and I went out and I got, I had gotten out and I had taken my braces off to put some topical meds on and such. And I had to put my braces on. And then I had to get my socks and shoes on and my back brace on. And I'm not gonna lie, today was one of those days with the storms coming in and the pain where that was a block of effort. And I ended up sitting there like, well, shoot. It took all the juice I had to get my gear on to be able, and now I have to wait a second while that stamina bar recharges. Because I am subject to the pressure fronts. Yes, okay, I've got the unstable, but absolutely spoon theory. I like spoon theory, and I also like fork theory. Spoon theory is basically you start with so many spoons in a day or in an environment, and everything you do takes spoons away. And when you run out of spoons, you can't do anything. And being stressed steals spoons. And being injured steals spoons. And being dehydrated steals spoons. And that's one side of it. Now, there is a parallel theory that I like, and that's called fork theory. And fork theory applies to people who have certain types of pain elements. And the idea is, how many times can you get stabbed with a fork before you have to stop it from happening, before it takes all the juice you have? And what happens for me is, a lot of times the spoons will turn into forks if I do too many of them at any given point. So yeah, I can burn through 3 or 4 spoons worth of stuff. Maybe I'll clean up the room and I'll get some laundry done. Yeah. And all of a sudden those spoons compile and just turn into forks and I get stabbed. I'm like, oh, nope. Because it's an absolute value kind of concept. So yeah, I'm big into spoon theory. And a lot of it, guys, maybe you've noticed a pattern if you followed me. I believe in honest evaluation. You have to be conscious of yourself. You have to be conscious of how you're thinking, how you're feeling, how you're functioning. Okay? So, because guess what? Your emotional state will screw up your physical state. And your emotional state can come from your mental state. And your physical state can goof up both. It has to be watched and monitored, and you keep an eye on it. I think I'll run a parallel, and if I'm too far off topic, let me know and I'll get back on topic. But a car with an automatic transmission, you get in the car, you push the go pedal, and it goes, and it'll speed up, and it'll lurch a little bit. If you set that cruise control, it'll do strange things on its own to keep you at that speed. And people who are relatively healthy essentially function like automatics. But a manual transmission, you got to start in low gear, and you have to build up to a higher gear when you're going faster. And then when you're doing something harder, you have to jack down to a lower gear to give you more torque and less speed. And so you're watching things. You're always, when you're driving, you got one hand on that stick, you got one hand on the wheel. Watch the road, watch the mirrors, watch the gauges. Road, mirrors, gauges. And your stick, you're listening to the engine. I need to shift. Motorcycles are great for that. I used to ride about a lifetime ago. I had a little 50. I rode all over the place. A little Yamaha. And I could still, I really believe if you played a recording of it, I could tell you what gear it's in and what it needs to go to by the sound. Clutch shift, back up, back down. You could feel, and it takes much more maintenance to make it go. But it's been proven that it's more efficient because your brain processes more things and changes things differently than the slush box does. So I don't know if I've derailed all over your question, Cindy, or if I've given new light to it. But yeah, you have to pay attention. And when you have a limitation, a handicap, a disability, a condition, either mental, physical, whatever, you learn to pay attention for the signs. And the good people will support you. The best people in your life are watching, and they're going to help you. Because sometimes I'll be having fun, and I have to be reminded before the pain does. Or back when I was a marshal, MIT, marshal in training, illegally, they said, I would watch for the fighters to get too red or sweaty or slur or stagger. I'd watch their behavior and go, hey, take a second, get some water, okay? You look like you're having trouble. I actually got scolded for it. And you know what? I don't care because I nearly died from heat exhaustion. It nearly killed me literally on the field at Simple Day. I can remember it crystal clear. So I watch that in others. And that's what good friends do. They know. A good friend who's been around you will know, hey, you okay? They'll ask and they'll educate themselves. But they'll also understand where, no, this is important enough. I know I'm overdoing it now. I know in the next few hours I'm going to be a slumped pile of useless in the Steak and Shake booth, sipping a shake and barely able to talk. It's worth it. I understand. Or no, you're right. Wow, yeah, I maybe I will take a break. That's why communication is important. That's why analysis of self, of students, because guess what? Just as students need to learn how to fight, they need to learn why to fight, why not to fight, when to fight, and when it's time to stop so you don't hurt yourself. And that can be very hard when emotions are high, either anger or just simple enjoyment. So there has to be a lot of trust. There has to be just an amazing amount of attention to detail. And it's worth it. It really is. Because it's important. And you have to, when you learn something like that, you learn it in real life. I've gone to the point where when I go shopping with my wife, I bring a crutch. And we both know that there's a point, at any point in the store, I might look at her and go, well, I'm done. It used to be, I would go and I would then go find the designated chair right by the bathroom at the Wally World, and I'd go sit down till she was done. Largely because getting out to the car wasn't always the best idea. Since the danger virus, I have to plan it a little different so I can make it out to the car so I can sit down. And you know what? There's no shame in that. There's no shame in going out in the field and fighting and then saying, guys, I need a break, and having water. And if anybody ever says, you're not taking this seriously enough, or you're not being a real sportsman, you need the Olympic spirit. If you're being honest with yourself, they can bugger right off. I don't care who they are. Part of building each other up is admitting our weaknesses, our faults, and building ourselves up. And not through egotism and not through narcissism. Lord knows we've seen enough of that. But through honest evaluation and monitoring our condition. Life is not meant to not be engaged with mentally. Okay? And while it is possible to live too much in one's head, it is vital that we as sentient beings pay attention to what we're doing. I love my cell phone. I absolutely love my cell phone. I contact people. I do art on it. There have been times where this has been the only computing device in my life. My ergonomic keyboard even can plug into it for when it's really bad. When I'm driving, don't call me. If you do, I'm not going to answer. I'm certainly not going to text. Now, when it's safe, I'll pull over, especially if it's a tone, and then I'll check it. Because right then, when I'm driving, that's what's important. Keeping an eye on me, keeping an eye on the road, keeping an eye on the car. And whenever, and especially as we age, guys, we have to keep our internal dials like, boy, I sound like a diesel motor. Maybe it's time for me to take a break to catch my breath. And there has to be a level, especially when we're building back up after a downtime where it's not competition. Okay? I mean, I have a job I like. I have passions I love. I have a wife. I have a kid. I have a house. I have some cars. There's not much more in this world I really want, to be honest, of the major important things. There are little things I love, and I like, I prize, and I let myself get all, Gollum-y, my precious, But the priority is there. The priority is taking care of what matters. And if somebody goes, my house is bigger than yours, I'm like, very nice. My wife is prettier than yours. That's a matter of opinion. Very nice. I can be happy for you. Let people take their sort of value, but don't let that diminish your personal value. And that's hard because we are taught and bombarded by, you need this possession to matter. And if you don't have X, Y, or Z, you don't really matter. You're not really authentic. You're not. I keep it clean on this channel, but there are several vulgar gestures and phrases that I might normally drop amid such shenanigans. So don't let that get to you. Don't let the them that's out there that brood the toxic plots. Seems like there's always somebody. And you have to decide if you're living for them or you're living for you. And I will give you a hint. If you're living for them, you will not be happy. Right now, I'm trying to help. That's what I'm trying to do. That's like, I have a whole. If I were to hit a little button, a bunch of fake sticky notes would appear all over my screen. I have this little program that gives me fake sticky notes. And they're all the things I'm writing and working on. And I might do a more practical side, but all my creative projects pop up. Bring! And they're prioritized and they're organized. And I'm slowly whittling my way through that list, and I add a few more, but more often than not, I take out more than I build. Yeah, stickies are great. I love. I have a wall over here. Sticky notes, and that reminds me. Thank you, because I have a note for John Minor that says I need to draw him up as a Scottish paladin, and in poking it, I just knocked the note over. But I think I already did that, but I might do it again just because it came up. See, little sticky notes. And I have them off my windowsill, this row of sticky notes. And then I have my projects, all that I'm working on, brings up when I hit my stickies. And they're on the computer because I don't want everybody who can walk in my office to always know what I'm completely up to. I like to have a few irons in the fire nobody sees. It's just part of who I am. Maybe it's a little paranoid, I don't know. But thank you, John. John says, I have the next review item being sent to me. I did not have your address handy. I will be sending Sting on the 11th when I get home. Okay. One, thank you, John. Two, this is exactly why he gets credited in every single video and mentioned at the bottom, even though he's not a Patreon supporter. Some people don't dig Patreon. I respect that, especially people who want to help out. Gonna go deep dive for a second. Bring us back to topic. I mentioned a fellow by the name of Artemis Interi. Absolutely love Artemis Interi. Do you know what his fighting style was? Saber and dagger. Great fun. I do love a long sword, short sword. Wow. Jeez. How short am I? This almost qualifies as a short sword. Like, that's If it were about half again longer, I could count it as a short sword. If it were twice the length, I would definitely count it as a sword, and I'd probably want two of them. That's funny. But this right here, bread and butter. And I could do it in a tunnel. I could fight with that in a tunnel. I could fight with that in a hallway. I could fight with that in a narrow street alley. It's hard to pull a great sword in a narrow alley or a crowded room and not cut everyone around you. And I don't like items that limit my options. I do like a good Galacticino, though. But yes, I have a very busy week coming up because I'm building up for some of my contract work. I recently did a kind of simple, but it was a fun project when I was explaining the art style she wanted. A novelist by the name of Kivrin St. James commissioned me to do a little piece of cover art for her. And that's up on DA. Also up on my DA site, you will find my musings on a neck knife survival kit, separate from the one I shared on Amazon because I didn't know that thing existed. So it's kind of interesting. Also, John, if you ever need my address, just hit me up. I'll send it to you again. Just for reference. Obviously, it's massively profitable for me. And get a website, guys. I can look at Cindy Kep, right, and I can tell you she is an author. I dig her stuff. She also is one of the most uplifting, supportive people I've ever had the pleasure to meet online. I don't think in person yet, but I will. I'd be willing to go to Iowa at some point to do that. And that's Iowa. Sorry, I couldn't. I was just making a joke about flyover states with my my brother. So Iowa has some neat stuff. Oh, I like my short sword and long sword combo for inside 22-inch Celtic sword and K-Bar offhand. You know what, John? I am surprised. There is about a 22 or 24-inch K-Bar style sword that I want to say Bud K put out, but I think Ontario might actually have one that would just fit your goofy motif so very well. You really should look into it. But yeah. No, I look forward. But Cindy Kep, getting back to what I was saying, Cindy Kep is this amazing person. And I can say, if you want to support her, go to www.CKOEPP.com. The Mighty Manatee Man is always right here watching. My manatee supervises Lydia now because Lydia needs supervision when I'm not here. She gets into mischief. I'm really starting to have a whole staff here at the Historical Fencing Guild. I've got Lydia, my undead assistant, and I've got my marvelous manatee, who I don't believe I have named. And if I haven't, I will probably name several things till I get it right. Cindy made this because she's talented. You should buy her things. Go on the St. Nick's Creators Christmas Ball. This goofy group I made on Facebook just to plug small businesses. Do it. John says, why when I can forge my own in Damascus? Well, then go forge your own in Damascus. Take it and beat your metal, John. Just beat it. You'll love it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But then make a matching dagger. Get yourself a set. Mind you, your sword will probably be as long as I am tall and your dagger as long as my arm. That's okay. Scale your weapons to you. I have noticed, friends, that when I get really passionate, I get having fun. And when I'm really rolling, I get this little bar. You'll notice I'll freeze for a second that says, your connection is unstable. It's like, really? No, I'm unstable. My connection is fine. But yeah, people who are actually very interested in seeing the see how it's scaled. It'll be interesting if they scaled it like the length it was for for Gandalf, or the length it was when they handed it to Frodo, because there were two weapons to maintain the scale when they traded things off as a way of tricking the hobbits into looking smaller. Fascinating stuff. But yeah, I might just paint it to glow in the dark because that would be fun. I'm not sure. Nah, I might just make another sting to do that. But yeah. I mean, Ryan just bought a section correctly, even fits my paw. Now, see, I do love a good scimitar, a Barbary saber. John, go look up Purple Heart Armory. Whoa. They have I dropped my orthopedic shark mouse over here. There we go. But yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, have Ryan post pictures. I want to see it. And guys, if you have swords you want to show off, hop on the Historical Fencing Guild's public group and show them off. We can talk about sharp, shiny things. Here, I'll show you what I like. My Lord Sword. I got this when I received my award during an event called Brian's Brew. But this, actually, no, I think I got my away at Weapons and Words. No, that was my purple friend. Anyhow, this, ironically, is a short sword by most people's standards, but is scaled almost perfectly for me and is a two-hander. This is a hand and a half to nearly a proper two-hander in my Hobbit hands. I absolutely adore this little sword because it's balanced and light enough. I can fence with it. I can use proper two-handed. It's versatile. I love this little thing. And I think the next time I get a trainer, I will model a trainer after this because it's just so much fun. Maybe I'll commission something from Purple Heart. I do love commissioning things from Purple Heart. If I ever get my tax money, there are a couple things I want to commission from Purple Heart. They have something that with the guard would make a beautiful Nagamaki. And dang it, Marco Saint, for getting me addicted to John, this is not a poniard. This would be a short sword. Okay, crap. This would be a poniard in your hand. Like, I was going to complain that this would be a short sword, but this literally would. You're right, John. You are absolutely right. I am a borderline small size creature. This is a hand and a half, more than enough for me to go. And let's see, do I have any of my tape measures around? I have 4 or 5 tape measures, and they have an uncanny ability to walk. Let's see. Put it right through there. I don't want to cut myself. Yep. Wow. It's 31 inches overall with a 23-inch blade, and I can use it as a hand and a half sword. And further, I really like this sword. This is a two-handed sword that I could carry into the woods. Gosh darn it. Are you laughing now? I do love this weapon. I think it's simple and it's elegant. Now, it's not my favorite because my favorite is still my Bilbo, which is slightly shorter. I think, yeah. I got stuff. Well, let's see. People were asking about the length. I'm glad you're enjoying it. John gave me this as well. This is my favorite one-handed sword. It is a sword in my hand, but I won't prove a point. I've actually been thinking these were longer than they are. No, this has... The irony is... Oh, wait, because we're dealing with a bow. So yeah, this is a 23.5-inch sword with... Let me just... Hey, it takes point control to literally thread a big needle with a sword. About a 30... there we go. Let me get it lined up this way so I have a better chance. I would estimate a 29, 30-inch overall. And this honestly is a very nice sword for me. When I say I have taught giants while being a hobbit, I am not jesting, guys. My two favorite swords right here for that sort of thing are that short. At some point, my buddy Steve's going to see this video, and he's going to die laughing because of the short weapons that I handle. Also, if you like what I'm doing, hit the likes. I got 4 viewers, 3 likes. Any likes you guys can throw would be much appreciated. And if you don't, please message what I'm doing wrong or what you want to see more of. I will adapt to serve. Because I'm trying to get past a certain level of YouTube notoriety. Eventually, I would love to have... 5 viewers, awesome. I would love to have, 1,000 subscribers, because then I could monetize, and that would be great, because then I could make some money directly, theoretically, doing what I do if I crank out more content. And I'm going to be cranking out more content as my situation allows. But yeah. Good. You know what? I'm glad you're enjoying it, because ironically, okay, while we're talking blade lengths, this is 24-inch exactly. This is a couple inches longer than what I usually use. And, hey, I want people to be entertained. There are too many people who come on here, being the YouTube, and they say, this is the only way. Stare at my rigid glory. I am correct. You are wrong. I look down at you, sir. Man, F all manner of duck. You know what I'm saying? You can't take yourself that seriously. This is too important to be taken seriously. I think I need... This tape measure bit is amusing. It's a little hand axe I like. I've used it as a neck knife at points. This is just to give you guys the scale of that I am a hobbit, and I am okay with that. Eight and a half inches long. Tape measure holds the ground. And yet I have used this to great effect. Don't get caught up in size. Don't get caught up in expense. If it works for you, you've seen the weaponry in the truck. If it is under 18 inches, all I carry on me. John, I've handled your battle rig. I know. But that's part of my point, too. People have this idea that these weapons have to be monstrous. Here's the sword you gave me. It broke. She knocked a chip out of it. I'm very sad. John gave me the cutlass years and years ago. I'm still sad about that break. 22-inch blade. You can see the 21. No worries, I'm a little twerp. Well, you're in good company because I specialize in little twerpdom. And that's okay. But I also train people who are like twice my size. And that's okay too. Well, I was confused because in Lafayette, Indiana, a frog I have to fix, but this is long enough to be a sword for me. Yes, John, you do fight at 0.0. Oh, I got a message. Let's see who messaged me. It's about the scale and not being afraid to embrace it. Evaluate. Ah. The viewer also specializes in little twerps. And I love this because Legions of the Small, we will rise up and we will get those cookies off the top shelf one of these days. And that's something that needs to be said. You can learn to fence and fight practically and effectively, even if you're a little guy. It just takes thought. Okay, there we go. But we just got to keep working at things, guys. Scale view and being able to put them. Oh, and John, at some point you apologized. God, I am kidding because I need to, and we need to. Silliness has to abound. In part because there's just life is too serious to take it that seriously. It's too important. And you get chewed up. And we've all, let's be honest, we've spent a lot of time doom scrolling. We've spent a lot of time just listening to the news tell us it's the end of the world as we know it. And I need to feel fine. Yes, Steve Clausen Wayne said, yes, things are too dark these days. They are. And that's why I talk about things that amuse me. Like plastic training swords. I love these things. And Nerf guns. If you want to know what my amusement has been, it's been my Nerf rifle Takedown 800. It's a pump action sawed-off shotgun. And that has absolutely nothing practical to do with what we do and everything to do with the spirit of what we do. We have to chase the dream, guys. And we have to set our victory conditions. And I don't mean just in a bout, obviously I don't want to die, I want to make the other guy. In real life, you and the have hid behind me and others. Yeah. I used John as a mobile wall of concealment, which he's talking about in the SC. Abso-fraggin-lutely. He was great fun. It was like just walking in with your giant. Everybody's looking at the giant, and I could go run through a shadow, I'm not going to repeat that comment, Steve, although that does not surprise me in any way, shape, or form. I am married. I don't want to die. The hilarity and inappropriateness of that will just keep on keeping on. I only got 9 more minutes. Longer if you guys can manage to keep me, but I don't want to die. And the wife consents, like, and I ain't dying for you, Steve. I love you, bro, but I ain't dying. But yeah, I'm proud of you, Steve. You're kicking butt and taking names. But yeah, I mean, really, when you are a small sized person, something like this, whoop, I got messed. Let me get that. Oh, wait, is that? No, that's not today. Ah, yes. Okay. 1 second. Okay. Getting off the topic of that, we're going to do my high-tech picture-in-picture. This is the scimitar that Ryan, our good buddy Ryan Gross, was referencing and that John was talking about. If you like that, John, and if Ryan likes that, there is a polysynthetic trainer by Blades USA that is eerily close to that, and it's slightly heavy, so it's not normally one of my favorites, but given both you and Ryan's fighting styles, I will try again. I will try to find it for you. Our buddy Marco had one, and I got to play with it a bit. I can't remember if it's actually meant to be a scimitar or a Dow type, but hey, and we're joined by the lovely Stef Mari. Great color combo. Steph is doing a lot of things right now, including some alt modeling, I guess is the best way to put it. Yes, they would. Steve, yes, they would. But she's doing some really great things. We've been talking about scaling knives and weapons to ourselves, and we came to the conclusion that, wow, I am a short little think, because my two-handed sword has a 24-inch blade. Nope, I'm sorry. Okay. We'll bring it back because I lost track of the number. If I can find the tape measure I had. Oh, there it is. We're talking about this. This is my Lord sword. In certain circles, it's known as my Deedlit sword because it reminds me of an anime character. But obviously comfortable. Like I have to choke, so I would call it a hand and a half. But I can grip it. The angle is comfortable. Oh, the Sting Trainer. No, this is my sword. John Miner is going to send me at some point in the fairly near future a Sting Trainer because he was on the list of people who wanted to see me do it. No, this is my actual sword. It has a 23.5-inch blade. Whoops. Give me a second. And because, I love, guys, there's nothing like handling live steel on live TV. Comfortable two-handed sword for me. For those of us who wonder, how hobbitish I am, you actually, Steph, would like this. I might just try to make some calls on this one. Because the more I handle it, the more I'm getting this crazy idea. But yes, I have seen the Sting Trainer. I put it on the list of weapons that are to be possibly purchased as Patreon money comes in. And then John Miner says he's ordering one. So as soon as that Sting Trainer comes in, I will do a review. That being said, I'll have to check the lengths on it, but you may really like that, Steph. We also may run into the sheer delightful irony where I may get it and find it too long, depending on who they scaled it to. And I will tell you, I will find that absolutely hilarious if we get down that path. Ryan the Ogre is in the room with us. Hi, Ryan the Ogre. You meatball. Make a wish list on Amazon. Okie dokie. I will try to do just that. It didn't even occur to me that I could. I'll try to get it and get prioritized because Steve, there's I found a $20 survival kit neck knife that's on my list that I don't know if you got to see, but because I was going to review that. It looks like they're okay. All right, guys, you rock. Sorry. I took that as a compliment, so just for a second, my brain shorted out. And John saying hi to Steve. Guys, when this all gets said and done, I'm going to have so much fun putting John and Steve in the same room. There are not words for how much I appreciate the malfun. Aw. Okay. You guys are going to make me blush, and I am not practiced in the art of receiving compliments. It's not something I normally get. It's not something I normally think in terms of, but I will thank you. I will do that. Pardon me, I'm going to drink caffeine to try to disguise my imposter syndrome and drown it out in bitter coffee fury. Oh, that's the good stuff. That is the good stuff, friends. Wow. Yeah, okay, I'm a sucker. I admit it freely. But yeah, this has been a great show. I have some of you on. I might just stay on a little while later than I usually do because we're barreling towards the 2 hour mark. But before I do, I want to thank. It's also because I have like an entire chat block of my supporters, and I am truly, guys, especially the people here, I am truly and humbly. Oh, really? Okay. My net shut down for a second as soon as I went to say I'm truly and humbly blessed, but I am, and I really do seriously. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I really do, and I hope what's going on this channel and what we do in the chats and in the practices and in the simple sword is doing good because that's what it's about. I want you guys to have uh, as much fun, as much education, as much help as possible. Uh, no, no, John, I speak John, and I'm not sure if Steve's telling me don't push yourself because wow, yeah, uh, it really is a pleasure and an honor. And if I can put out a voice that's like, hey, you can do this. You don't have to do it the way everyone says you do. Find your own path, and it helps one person get a little better, or if it brings a little light in this post 2020 jerk apocalypse that we've been enduring, then I'm doing good. We as soon as Stef Mari has a website, I'm going to plug it here as usual. I want to plug Cindy Kep's www.ckoepp.com. Great author, really great worlds, lots of bird stuff. It sounds funny, but I do like. If you liked the Mercedes Lackey Owl Flight series, especially, I think you'll like a lot of what she has to say. But John Miner of Swakhammer Metals is doing amazing things. He has for years and years, and frankly, he went 2 or 3 decades. two or three decades, in my opinion, and to this day in certain organizations, not getting the credit he deserves for what he did. And that's borderline criminal. But 6 months from now, I will be talking about things I can't talk about right now. And I am horribly, yeah, you heard the ping, eager to do so. So a lot of people, I'm proud of you guys. I don't know if anybody said it. I am proud of, because everybody on my list is doing something. Like, they're not just sitting, and even if they have a day job to pay the bills, they're doing things to chase the dream, to be what they want to be how they want to be. And that, guys, that's what we're about here. That's what the folks over at the Rising Tide, Brian K. Morris, he's a Patreon member, and he's a good. Hey, I just want to help people, and I believe in what you do, Steve, and what I know. While I don't talk about it because it's none of anyone else's business till it's time, is cool. It's just flat out cool, and we need people. Guys, we need to build each other up. And that's what's happening. Like this chat right now, if I were at Denny's like I should be right now, eating food I shouldn't eat because of my diet, we'd be laughing and caffeinating and getting into way too much mischief. And the waitress would be rolling her eyes, but she wouldn't care because she knows the tip would be good. That's what we need. That's how we're going to get through till we can do this in person. And when we can do this in person, at some point, I'm going to do a live group thing. I don't know how I'll do it yet, but I have a feeling, given the people I know, the tech support to get it done won't be a problem. And we're going to have parties, guys. And I mean that. We're going to sword fight, and we're going to throw things, and we're going to make things, and it's going to be just freaking awesome. We just have to get through it. And one thing I want to make crystal clear. I recently lost a friend. You guys know this, Ben Starkey. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow or the next day or whenever, if my heart explodes or I get abducted by interspatial dimensional creatures never seen again, whatever, I expect one, y'all to take care of each other, okay? And two, never stop trying, okay? Never stop chasing the stream. It's too important. You know, we all know things. We all have things that matter. Write it down, preserve it for others, and chase that rabbit down the hole, man. That's what's important. You guys, you guys can't see it. I'm gesturing wildly because you can't see this awesome chat bar that's off to the side. I'm not going to read that by the nature of the statement, John, but thank you on behalf of people who don't know. You guys are, and the fact several people have come to me and they're like, just so you know, good is happening. And I know the people who are receiving it, and I know how grateful they are. Like, I know if something happened to me, the people would help mine, help my wife, help my son. I can be comfortable in that. And that might be the most arrogant thing I've ever said, but I just believe the quality of people that I can rest comfortable in that. And that says so much to you guys because I don't trust lightly. But the people who watch this, the people who get what I'm talking about, who catch the ball I'm throwing, are about building each other up. And doing the right thing. And that's what's going to get us through. And, you want a sword fight, yes. The kind of person who does, they're chasing something better, I find. Now, if I can give you just a footstool up to that next level, I've done a wonder for the world. Not from my value, but from helping you to get to yours. And that's what we're going to keep doing. I'm going to be doing some more reviews. I have some more. There's a lot of stuff that came out that I just didn't cover in my notes today. And I probably won't. But guys, this is cool. And I don't know what to say. So when I don't know what to say, as I've learned with this gray hair that's come in, I say thank you. I say, guys, keep your guard up, okay? Both for yourselves and for each other. Keep drilling. Wash your hands, wear your mask, eyes on a swivel because it's scary. And as always, I want to thank you and ask you to never forget, support your local swordmaster. Good night, folks.